Thank you. I'll stand and might a while. I want to speak to you tonight about a campaign that I'm involved with, and I believe already in the last meeting Sean and Mark sort of briefed you a little bit about the campaign. It's to do with a former session commander of my own, member of Fleet PRA, Corporal Stewart McLaughlin. I'll tell you what the campaign's about and then give you a bit of background so that you might decide as to whether this is something you want to support or not. There's a campaign at the moment called a campaign for formal recognition for Corporal Stewart McLaughlin. And basically what we're doing, myself, lots of former comrades of Corporal McLaughlin and his family, we're now trying to seek a retrospective award for him for his actions on Mount London in the Falklands War 1982. This is not just a gang of his old mates thinking somebody's been hard done to, because as former soldiers we could all probably name people that should have got a medal in action and didn't, and it's the way the system works. We appreciate and accept that, and nobody wants to see medals handing out left, right and centre just because we perhaps didn't get something. I'll go into the background of why this is different to those sorts of cases in a second. It's also not a new campaign. This campaign's been going on for 32 years. And the reason it's been going on for 32 years is at the end of that battle, the Battle of Mount London, 35 hours, 23 men, 47 wounded. Corporal McLaughlin was one of the fatalities that night. When the battalion returned, probably 95% of the battalion fully expected Corporal McLaughlin to receive a Victoria Cross. Such were his actions on the night. It actually turned out to receive nothing whatsoever. And as you can imagine, when the awards came out, there was a great deal of upset, anger, disappointment amongst the battalion. And at the time, protests were made, and the lads were just told, look, that's it, they're the awards you've got, end off. And what do you do? There's nothing you can do, so people just soldier on. In October of 1982, there was a memorial service in Old Shot Football Ground, and all the families and the battalions attended. And the McLaughlin family were met by the former commanding officer at that time and the OC and B company, Major Mike Cardew. And Major Mike Cardew said to Stuart's father, your son has been put in for the highest award. And obviously it's the Victoria Cross. They've already said that never transpired. And from that time, the McLaughlin family then asked questions, where is this award? Why were we told he's going to get a VC when he's got nothing? And as I say, this is not just one person that should have got medals. I could name 10 people, as you could all do yourselves, that should have got medals. Since that time, the family got nowhere for years and years and years, and the MOD just locked the door and just said, thanks ever so much, very brave soldier, we regret your loss, but there's nothing coming your way. And that was the picture for many, many, many years. Myself and former comrades became more involved about 10 years ago. And again at that time, the MOD locked the doors, PRA locked the doors, there's nothing coming our way. As what is our way, PRA, we didn't really take any notice of that, and we just kept plodding on, to some effect, to the point where now, 2 years ago, myself and the McLaughlin family, along with the former platoon sergeant John Ross, met the then former CO, Lieutenant John Hugh Pike, who just recently retired, and the regimental colonel, who a year ago was Colonel Wills. We met the regimental colonel and the CO at the Memorial Arboretum, had a meeting there regarding the case. At that meeting, the former CO, as I say, retired Lieutenant General, agreed that this was what he called a glaring omission in the battalion's honours. There were mistakes that had made, which he admitted to on the day. The regimental colonel described the actions of Corporal McLaughlin not only as being well known throughout the regiment. I'm sure the guy that would have come last week from Supervisor Sergeant would have known his name. He actually said his actions are in the DNA of the Parachute Regiment today. People still... I went to the 30th Falklands anniversary in Old Shot, probably along with Sean. I was speaking to soldiers that weren't even born in 1982, and they were asking me because they were Corporal McLaughlin. Such is the sort of person that we're talking about. Following that meeting with the regimental colonel and with the former CO, the former CO then agreed that such was the omission in the battalion honours that he would actually take the unprecedented step of writing a new citation. He then took that citation to the Chief of the General Staff, General Sir Peter Wall, as the head of the British Army at the time. He said there is no system of retrospective award. It cannot be done. It's never been done. He said so. There's no point us even having a conversation. General came away saying absolutely not satisfied with that, and he went back to the CGS and said, look, this is a case that we need to look at. The Army needs to put in place some sort of system of review that doesn't exist. There is no appeal system. Again, the CGS said, look, he acknowledged, and I've seen documentation where he said this is an exceptionally brave soldier. He should have been awarded. He wasn't. We can't do anything about it. There is no facility within the system. From that meeting, the General then went away to the Chairman of the Operational Honours and Awards Committee at the MOD, which is as high as you go. They are the people that look at your citation, they stamp it yes or no. He met with the Chairman there, who agreed there was an omission, something went wrong in the system, however there is no facility for an appeal system. He did accept that he would speak to the family and perhaps explain the position, and I was able to attend that meeting myself with the Admiral. At that meeting, he told us that this was not only an extraordinary case, it was a case that he'd never seen the likes of before. He said, I deal with appeals all the time. He said, and he had a document, you know, many documents going back over many years regarding the case that were all on file. He said, if I could give him a medal now, I would, but the system does not allow it. There's just no way we can do it. He said, the only thing I could suggest you do is you go to the Prime Minister and ask for an extraordinary award, which is what we're doing. There's currently an e-petition lodged with the government. We've got 3,500 signatures at the moment. And we're also marching on the 4th of July, Friday the 4th of July, to deliver the petition, all the documentation that we've acquired over the years, to take to David Cameron and say, we want this to be looked at again. We'd like the system to be reviewed, and in the light of a review, look at this particular case. Now, we are breaking new ground. It's going to be a very, very difficult situation to get anywhere, but if we don't try, we won't get anywhere. There will be other soldiers in the future that are in the same position, and we're not talking every man and his dog that doesn't get a medal. We're talking about those, we're talking Lava from Murdoch, we're talking Paddy Main, of that ilk. This is the sort of people that we're talking about. And it's not right that people like this should just be ignored, dismissed. An error will do. It won't do, and it's not being done for us. So we're marching on the 4th of July, and what I'd really like to ask the branches really, A, whether the members would feel that they could come with us. Those of you that feel you could support this cause, we'd be very pleased to see you there. We've got PRA branches from around the country marching with standards. And if there were sufficient numbers, whether the actual branch would consider funding some sort of travel arrangements for members to travel down to London. So that's my proposal, really, gents. At the risk of taking any more time, I do have a copy of the new citation that the General wrote. I could either take another 2 minutes of your time and read it to you, or leave it available for people to look at through the night if you wish.
Carry on.
Carry on, I'd like to hear it.
This is Stewart McLaughlin, written by Lieutenant General HWR 5, CO 30 Battalion Parachute Regiment. This was the new citation written in September 2013. Corporal McLaughlin was a section commander in 5-2B Company during the Battle of Mount London on the night of 11th and 12th June 1982. His company commander records that prior to his death, he led his section like a demon on the rocks of Mount London. The manner in which he inspired his soldiers was indeed exemplary. Highly respected by them, it is a measure of his skilled and courageous leadership that although one of his men was badly wounded, all survived the battle. He himself was killed by heavy mortar fire whilst being evacuated to the regimental aid post, already severely wounded in the back on the morning after the battle. As the leading company in the battalion's night assault, B Company were heavily engaged by the enemy from the outset. Throughout the long night action, McLaughlin was noticed by many, moving around under fire, rallying others, helping with the redistribution of ammunition, talking to other section commanders. At one point, he ran under fire to pull a wounded man back into cover, grabbing his weapon. His example reassuring those around him that he did not seem fazed by anything, and that if they too were hit, he would get them back to relative safety. In another local action, he positioned his section along an embankment to bring suppressive fire to bear on an enemy composition that was holding up 4 platoon on their left. However, the well-protected enemy fire continued to bear heavily on this platoon, and it was clear to McLaughlin that another approach was needed. This was very much the pattern of the night. Try one tactic, get held up, go around another way, and try again. McLaughlin realised it was only time before the section incurred more casualties, so he shouted, I'll count 1, 2, 3, then we all go. About a minute later, he did the countdown, stood up in the middle of the fire, opened his arms with his rifle in his right hand, and shouted to the section, "Come on lads, I'm bulletproof, follow me." He then ran forward towards the gunfire, followed by the rest of the section, who all reached the cover of the rocks unscathed. Members of the section commented later it was the bravest thing they'd ever seen. During such engagements as these, McLaughlin was observed assisting another soldier under fire in open ground with his 84mm Cargill stab anti-tank weapon, which misfired several times, after which McLaughlin grabbed a 66mm rocket launcher and neutralised the enemy bunker before assaulting it single-handed, using grenades and killing 3 of the enemy. Throughout the Company's phase of the battle from Mount Longdon, Corporal McLaughlin's influence and presence were consistently strong. Even after A Company had taken up the battle eastwards along the ridge, McLaughlin was seen bringing forward armfuls of belt ammunition and offering his support, despite being under constant fire from artillery and mortars based around Stanley. Greatly trusted by his men, Corporal McLaughlin's leadership throughout a terrible battle, of which his young soldiers had no previous experience, inspired confidence in all and sustained those who might otherwise have faltered. His tenacious determination was infectious, and those around him that night know only too well his impact on the outcome. His action has been absolutely instrumental in sustaining momentum. This outstanding and very courageous leader is strongly deserving of formal recognition.
Fine.